Our pace of living leaves us little time for leisure. Our program will give you a chance to experience the fascinating world of traveling, extreme adventures, hunting and fishing. Each week we will take you to the most beautiful places of Kazakhstan.
Arka curial, wild sheep, is a beautiful, slender and large animal. The adult Arka male's height at the withers can reach 125 centimeters, and the weight of some species is more than 200 kilograms. Males have large, strong horns that are fancifully curled into spirals. Females have very thin, short and slightly curved horns. Back in the last century, Arkas were prevailing in the West Tien-Shan and its offsets, Zailysky and Central Tien-Shan. They also affected the Southern Altai. But for the recent 30 years, the number of Arkas has dramatically decreased. The main reason is always human actions. Arkas are totally extinct in Chuilysky Mountains and the Southern Altai as a result of mountain and desert land development and predaceous hunt. Their numbers also decreased in Tien-Shan. Arkas dwell at high altitudes, but sometimes in the foothills of hammocks. These sheep lead a relatively sedentary life. They usually stick to one place with unimpeded access to food during the whole year and where people cannot reach them. Once, my old friend, the hunt manager of the hunting game in Terskey Alatau, mentioned that there were 1,400 of Arkas of Tien-Shan subspecies on the game territory. I was really surprised, because the total numbers of Tien-Shan Arkas, according to official reports, is 1,300 in Kazakhstan. Having studied relevant sources, I found out that officers of Zoology Institute registered about 200 wild sheep all over the range during the census of Arkas in Terskey Alatau at the beginning of the 90s. After that, 2 hunting farms were formed. The number of wild sheep rose significantly. In 2009, the zoologists and state control officers counted 1,400 Tien-Shan Arkas within only one game reserve during a helicopter ride. At the same time, 400 species were counted in a neighboring reserve. The non-compliance of these numbers disoriented us. So we decided to go to the place to see it with our own eyes rather than read about the numbers for 100 times in contradictory sources. In the middle of March, 2 students of the Karakol University, named after Tienestanov, and I went to the Terskey Alatau to find the mysterious Tien-Shan Arkas. We planned to drive half of the way, but we couldn't get to the Karkara River. Meter-high snowdrifts cluttered the route. The weather was terrible. The snowstorm and the drifts of the road seemed to jeopardize the entire journey. Our mood faded, but we decided not to give up. With the help of the horse, we overcame the insuperable obstacles. We decided to rent a more reliable, in our opinion, means of transportation, a horse. The road turned out to be more difficult. The snowstorm was so strong that didn't let us move. Having got stuck in the snow, our horse couldn't move on. There were several kilometers to the township where we were to have a night stop. Local people welcomed us as dear guests. They gave us heat, food and showed us a folk game named kokpa, a traditional horse bowler. Young men competed in horse riding art, strength and adroitness, pulling the sheep from each other at full speed. We had to ski through the wilds of Terskey Alatau. 2 of us skied and 1 used a snowshoe. For a moment, we were certain that skiing was a better idea. In the morning, the ice crust was hard enough to hold us on snowshoes, but when the sun started to burn at 10 a.m., the snowshoes kept falling into the snow, and it was very difficult to get out of the snowy hole. After several painful hours, we came up with an idea. The 2 of us were to go ahead for a few kilometers. Then one of those 2 was to take a pair of skis and return to the waiting fellow. This method of moving took a lot of time, which however enabled us to move slowly but forward. We walked for 8 kilometers during the first day. Everyone was extremely exhausted after the hard climb.
Yes.
So it was high time to go to bed. We settled the camp under a tall fir, fixed the fire and put up the tent.
Сколько лавин у вас сошло?
5.
Ну, на тропу не вылетели?
Вылетели, еле успел пройти. Как раз прошел и сразу...
There were 5 snow breaks. We barely made it. These snow breaks made me move faster. But before we pitched the tent, we had to clear the territory of snow, bring sticks and lay them out. The night passed away insensibly. By the end of the second day, we reached the head of the Karkara River, formed by a confluence of Turuk and Kolja rivers.
Скажите, что вы чувствовали, когда упали вот там?
I was afraid to fall into the river. Then there was a thought. I would not have enough strength to get out from deep snow with a 40-kilogram backpack. In the morning, we passed the river across the shallow and went alongside the Koljar's bed. The northern slope lays under a 2-meter thick snow cover. On the other hand, the southern slopes were welcoming to walk on firm land. Probably our cars were thinking the same way. We noticed the first groups of them at southern sides. The higher we climbed the Kalja, the more frequently we could observe the graceful animals. Ibexes share the same habitats but take different paths. The wild goats stick to the rocky sides, the perfect survival area from predators like wolves and snow leopards. Arcas prefer more flat, high-altitude plateaus. Probably Arcas mostly rely on their agile legs, rather than on their climbing skills. There are 5, or in some experts' opinion, 6 subspecies of groups of wild sheep in Kazakhstan. They are Altai sheep, they dwell in Kazakhstani part of Altai, Central Kazakhstani subspecies group, also called Kargandinsky sheep, that dwell in Kazakhstani hammocks and Tarbagatay, and Karatau subspecies that dwell over Serdarinsky Karatau. The hunting expert's point of view on Arcas subspecificity dwell in Terskey Alatau differs from the official point of view. Kazakhstan zoologists suppose there is no difference between Arcas from the central Tien-Shan and Jungaria on a genetic level, but the hunting society calls Jungarian Arcas as Argali little dal. Also, hunting experts are not in absolute agreement with the official point of view on sheep from the Saur range in eastern Kazakhstan. They considered being central Kazakhstani based on the local fauna cadastre. However, the international organization CIC considers Saur sheep as separate subspecies. Our Chinese colleagues are in agreement with it. Based on their systematic, the sheep of Saur are called Ovis ammon saurensis. The Arcas of Terskey Alatau are referenced in an undisputed manner. They are undoubtedly Ovis ammon karelini. The sheep was called in honor of Karelin, the zoologist and traveler who was the first to describe this subspecies. We wrote down every animal we met throughout the 40 kilometers of Arcas route accurately. The list included 800 animals within 1 week. We inspected an inconsiderable part of the range, but the conclusion was encouraging. The number of Tien-Shan sheep had essentially increased for the last 15 years. Why did it happen? The answer is apparently simple. First of all, the game owners provided adequate protection. For the second, they do not allow livestock overgrazing on the game territories. The majority of scientists are confident that the main reason for the decrease in the number of many types of animals is not hunting, but rather change in their habitats. In the condition of high altitudes, there is a competition with livestock for the sheep. It was noticed long before that Arcas leave areas of cattle pastures. The damage from the distant pasture cattle cannot be compared with the damage from the competent game management. Someone can object that local people need to meet their vital requirements. The distant pasture cattle tending is an economy basis in some remote areas. Raising stock is more profitable than raising Arcas. It is not to be sneezed at. Let us think for a moment. What brings more profit? To build a business center or a playground? Probably the business center is more beneficial. But who would agree to live in a city full of business centers and no playgrounds? On the other side, in terms of profit, the market value of wild Arcal is 1,000 times as high as the value of home-brewed sheep. But local people do not understand. They do not have any profit from Arcas preservation. So why not raise Arcas instead of stock in such arduous remote areas? Moreover, the experience of game management in the Terskey Alatau demonstrates the perfect possibilities for this idea.